Did you know that 71% of the people that watch Matthew Kelly's videos are not subscribers? That makes no sense. We need to change that. Subscribe today. Hit that subscribe button, smash that like button, and turn on those notifications so you never miss out on another great video ever again.
As a parent, I look around the world and I think it's a bit of a mess. And I think most parents have concern, about like what kind of world are our kids going to grow up in. And my little boy Walter, he's 7, and he's starting to notice, the world's a bit of a mess, and he said to me the other day, he said, how did the world get like this? And he's a smart kid. I guess most parents think their kids are smart, but he's a pretty smart kid, and you can just see his mind working. You can see the gears they're going, and the reality is the world gets to be a bit of a mess when people don't do their missions, when people don't fulfill their missions. Human beings, we're made for meaning. We can't live without meaning. The shallow, superficial nature of our culture is like cutting off the oxygen supply to people spiritually. Because we're made for meaning. A little bit of depth, a little bit of seriousness is very, very good for the human being. We're also made for mission. God made you for mission. And I don't know what your mission is. And our missions evolve and change over time. It's not like God gives us one mission for our whole life necessarily. But I do know that when people don't fulfill their mission, when people turn their backs on God and the mission He's inviting them to, the world becomes a mess. And that's what we're seeing. That's what we're dealing with. And that's what, even Walter at 7 years old is witnessing and is mindful of and is conscious of. One of the phrases we use internally is mission is king. Very often in meetings, I'll say to people, Matthew is not king. Mission is king. Nick's not king. Jennifer's not king. Mission is king. And, certainly as the leader of an organization, as the founder of an organization, there can be a great danger to make Matthew king. What does Matthew want? And that always ends bad. That always ends in mediocrity. That always, and very often ends in a mission that can't go beyond the life of the founder. And so from the beginning, I've always been saying to people, mission is king. Mission is king. Matthew is not king. And why? Because it's about mission impact. It's not about what Matthew wants. It's not about what Nick wants, or Sarah wants, or Mark wants, or David wants, or Julie wants, or whatever. It's not about personal preference. It's about mission impact. And so as you think about your mission, I think there's a theme that I've noticed that I'd really encourage you to think about. Great things happen when your talents and your passions meet the world's people's deep needs. There's an explosion of mission that happens when those two things come together. And so when you're thinking about, okay, well, what mission is God calling me to do? I'm growing spiritually, or I feel like God is calling me to something. Don't just think about yourself. Okay, don't think about it just in terms of, okay, what am I good at? What are my talents? What are my passions? What impact do I want to have on the world? Or what impact do I want to have for my parish? But think about it in terms of, what are humanity's deep needs at this moment in history? Or what is your parish's deep needs at this moment in history? And how do your talents and abilities and passions connect with the deep needs of the people and of this time? Because that's when that explosion, when those two things meet, you always see a powerful explosion of mission. You're made for mission, and whether you start thinking about it today, or you've been thinking about it for 10 years, or you don't start thinking about it for another 10 years, you're made for mission. And as you grow spiritually, it's like the bucket under a faucet or a dripping tap. You put a bucket under the dripping tap. Sooner or later, what happens to the bucket? It fills up. Once it's full, what happens? It overflows. Why? It has no choice. And our spiritual journeys are the same. God fills us up. He's that dripping tap. That daily prayer is just another drop in the bucket. That spiritual readings, a drop in the bucket. That going to church is a drop in the bucket. That involvement in the sacraments, a drop in the bucket. That serving your neighbor, reaching out to the poor, all of these things that make up our Catholic spirituality is just drops in the bucket, drops in the bucket, drops in the bucket. Sooner or later, the bucket is full. And once the bucket is full, it has to overflow. It has no choice. It has no choice. But when it does start to overflow, it's helpful if we're intentional about it. It's helpful if we have thought about it and prayed about it and talked to God about it and said to God, hey God, what mission are you calling me to at this time in my life? It doesn't mean it's forever. It might just be for this time in your life, and that's okay. It might be forever, and that's okay too. But to turn to God and say, hey God, what mission are you calling me to at this time in my life? Because if you turn to God with that question, it will change your life. That question changes the world. That question cleans up the mess that even Walter notices.